We now have some insight as to why the Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria super fight has not been booked for International Fight Week. I'm going to talk about why that is in today's video and also why I think this could backfire. My name is James Lynch, so credit to the journalists out there who got this scoop. Alvaro Colmenero, hope I'm saying that right. You can see the Twitter handle there, KO Ilmenero MMA. He basically says, and it says here in the tweet here, courtesy of Home of Fight, Islam Makhachev reportedly has plans to wait for the Bilal Muhammad Jack Della Maddalena welterweight title fight at UFC 315 before deciding on his next opponent. He may not fight an International Fight Week on June 28th. I don't think he is going to fight an International Fight Week. If you're waiting to see about a fight that's on May 10th, this International Fight Week event's June 28th, I doubt the UFC is going to wait around to announce the main event for that card when they're trying to sell tickets. It's one of the biggest cards they do every year. I doubt Islam's going to fight if that is really his plans here. And again, this is just from the report. Islam himself, I mean, I guess Islam's come out and said he's not going to fight Topuria next, but still, this is sort of the first, serious report that we've had that is basically pointing out the strategy. And we've heard rumblings about this too, that Islam wants a second belt, which is understandable. And I don't blame him. I'm not going to sit here and blame Islam Makhachev for this strategy. You get into MMA royalty when you win a second belt. That's something his mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, did not do. But you look at some of the greats, Conor McGregor, Henry Cejudo, the list goes on of fighters that have won 2 belts. It's certainly something that really adds to the resume. And Islam's got a great career as it is already, but adding that second belt would certainly add a little bit more. So I totally understand that. But this is why I think things can backfire. First and foremost, I think Bilal Muhammad's going to beat Jack Della Maddalena at the UFC 315. I already did a breakdown on this. It's up on Patreon. It'll be out on this channel in maybe the next week or so. I have a hard time seeing Islam and Bilal fighting each other. Now, this is for a couple of reasons. Number one, they've trained together. It's my understanding they're friends. Maybe not like best friends, but they're friendly with each other. They have the same management. Not that that stopped that manager from booking his fighters against each other before. And I know generally, just speaking to certain fighters that are, that are Muslim, they don't typically like to fight each other. There's like a brotherhood there. So I could see that being a little bit of a tough spot there. I mean, kind of what I'm getting at here is Islam wants to fight Jack Della Maddalena. And I don't blame him because I think that's a stylistic nightmare matchup for Jack Della Maddalena. We've seen some weakness in his wrestling. Islam's got great wrestling, great grappling. That would be a very tough fight for Jack Della Maddalena to win. In fact, if they made that fight, Islam would be a huge favorite. I have no doubt about that, even though he would be the one moving up, in my opinion. But let's say they put all this aside and, it's Bilal and Islam do decide to fight each other next. It's kind of screwing over the welterweight division, right? We've got 2 really good contenders in that weight class. We've got Shavkat Rakhmonov, and now we have Sean Brady, right? Sean Brady picking up a big win a few weeks ago. This is kind of putting that at a halt, and I don't really think that's fair, to be honest. I don't blame Islam for wanting to move up here. I just think the timing of it is really screwing things up for the UFC. And let's be honest, at the end of the day, it's the UFC that books the fights. They're a business. They got to do what's best for business here. So we'll see if they even want to go along with this plan, because look at the Shavkat Rakhmonov angle of this. I think people forget Shavkat Rakhmonov was scheduled to fight for the welterweight title in December. It was Bilal Muhammad who had the bone issue in his foot that postponed the fight, and ultimately Shavkat fought Ian Gary. He did the UFC and everyone a favor by fighting Ian Gary, injured, and he still beats Ian Gary, and now he's got to be waiting even longer to see if Islam gets to take this fight. I think that's not really fair to the welterweight division. And then for Sean Brady, talk about him. He just became a dad, took this fight against Leon Edwards on short notice, completely dominated him. First fighter to submit Leon Edwards. And he is, we don't know what's next for him. And, I think there's a strong case for him getting a title shot too. I know people will then say, well, why doesn't Shavkat and Sean Brady fight each other? You could, but that's really screwing over Shavkat. Let's be honest here, right? Again, he had the title fight. He did the UFC the favor by taking another fight. And now he's got to fight another opponent. So a guy, a champion from lightweight can move up and take this fight. I don't know. That seems a bit unfair to me. And here's the other thing. Let's say it is, Islam and JDM. Let's say JDM does it. He knocks out Bilal Muhammad. I'm assuming that's the way he would win, is by knocking out Bilal. It's Islam JDM. Is that really a big fight? It's a big fight in the sense that, and I know people will watch because people want to see Islam get that second belt, but is that like a marquee big name fight? Nothing against Jack Della Maddalena, but he is not a big draw, big pay-per-view seller. He's not this big name. I think, honestly, if we're looking at what the bigger fight would be, it would be Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. So that's where I kind of am like, I don't know if the UFC wants to do that. Because again, the UFC wants to put on the best fights. They're a business at the end of the day. They want to put on the fights that are going to make them the most money. And I don't know if a Jack Della Maddalena and Islam fight would sell tremendously well. I also don't know if a Bilal Muhammad and Islam Makhachev fight would sell very well. Again, people will watch Islam regardless. He's a huge international superstar. I just wonder if you've got this huge international fight that could be made next between Ilia and Islam, and they're opting to go a different route. I don't know if fans would be more into that. So that's something else that I think is worth considering. Here's the other thing that I think we got to consider as well too. Topuria, we know he's not going back to 145. He's vacated his belt. He's coming up to 155. Okay, so he's not going to wait around for all this. If this is the plan, if Islam is waiting out to see what happens with the welterweight title fight, Ilia's not going to wait around. I doubt it, right? Like to see what happens there. So therefore, he'd have to take another fight. What happens if Ilia loses? It could happen. I don't know how he's going to perform at 155. What if he goes out there and fights like an Arman or Charles or Justin Gaethje or someone like that, and he loses? That kills this super fight. To me, the UFC has an opportunity right now to make one of the biggest fights they could possibly make. I think if we're talking about super fights right now that could be made right now, number one is John Jones, Tom Aspinall, which unfortunately I don't think is going to happen. Talked about that many times on this channel. The second biggest fight you could make, in my opinion, is Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. That may not happen if Topuria has to fight someone else. You are risking that fight by having him fight someone else, and if he loses, that fight may never happen. Yes, he could lose that fight and maybe eventually, you know, win a couple and then get back. That could happen. But to me, that's a big risk. I think the UFC at the end of the day, you know, is a business. They want to make, you know, good money. They want to put on great fights. They want to get a lot of noise and attention on their fighters and their matchups. I just think this is something that could absolutely backfire here. And again, I'm not blaming Islam for this because any fighter would want to go there and win 2 belts. It adds a lot to your resume. I just think the timing of this could not be worse because, like I said, you've got contenders at welterweight that are waiting in the wings that deserve their opportunity to fight for the title. I think Bilal wins. Again, maybe I'll be wrong. I mean, we've seen title fights, upsets happen before. JDM has a puncher's chance. I'll give him that. But I do think Bilal wins that fight. And, you know, is Bilal really that thrilled to fight Islam? Vice versa? Is Bilal... I suppose as well, I'll throw this out there too, because I know someone's going to mention this in the comments. I suppose Bilal could move up, but let's be honest. This is one title defense, and then Bilal's going to move up to 85 to fight Duplessis. I know there's been talks about that, but I don't know. Like, to me, why are we moving all this stuff in the division for one fighter? I just think that, like, the timing of this just couldn't be worse, and I think this is a situation where if everything works out well, I think the best scenario would be you do Ilia Islam, you do Bilal and JDM, and then Shavkat or Brady or whoever fights the winner, and then maybe you revisit this after. But like, if I'm Islam, take the Topuria fight. I think Islam, I realize that Islam has more to lose than Topuria does. Topuria's the one moving up, right? Like, you know, Islam's the guy in the division. I think Islam beats Topuria. To me, if you're confident that you would be a guy that, by the way, Topuria used to fight at bantamweight back in the day. I mean, Islam's going to be bigger in this fight. Why not just take the Topuria fight, then move up? No one will have any issues about that. I just think the timing of this right now is not really good for Islam deciding to move up and potentially doing this. And not to mention, what are they going to do for an international fight week? I think there's one fight right now that is realistic, and that is Dricus Du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev. And at the time I'm recording this, I don't even know if Khamzat Chimaev can fight in the US. We still don't know that yet. Nothing's guaranteed right now. So UFC is going to have, and again, the UFC is going to have to make the decision of what they want to have International Fight Week look like. We did get that Brandon Royval and Manel Kape fight booked. So that's a good start, but they're going to beef up that card. And I just think right now, the easy move right now is to make Islam Ilia for International Fight Week. No one's complaining, and everyone's going to get a good card on June 28th. So I want to know what you guys think in the comments section below. Do you agree with Islam for waiting out and trying to get this title shot? Or are you with me to a certain degree where it's like, you know what, this is kind of, one guy moving up is going to mess up all these other things. What do you guys think? Do you guys want to see Ilia Islam? I do at this point. I'm at the point where it's like, I'm just intrigued. Can Ilia do it? This is a guy that a lot of people think wouldn't be able to knock out Volk or Max Holloway, especially Holloway never being knocked out. There's some intrigue there. He's got a puncher's chance. I do kind of want to see how that all unfolds, but this is something to monitor for sure. UFC 317 coming up here pretty soon. It's April 4th, and that card's on June 28th. So interested to see how this all unfolds. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.